Okay, good evening, everyone. And we are back here in the weekly Parsha, and we are holding in PARSHAS VAYEIRA. And it just seems to me that there's a lot of destruction that takes place in Sefer Bereshis. A lot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu meting out his wrath on the people that do not behave in the right way. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes through every generation, and he sees the downfall and the downslide of morality and of mankind. And there's really only one thing to do, and that is to destroy them. And we come this week to the Parsha of Sdoim and Amora, which were part of 5 different cities that were completely out of control in a world of total chaos and out of the realm of what humanity is all about. Chazal tell us in no uncertain terms that the people in the Psukim themselves are telling us that the people in Sdoim were roim v'chatoim, they were evil and they were filled with sin. And Chazal tell us in the Gemara and the Midrashim that the people of Sdoim, they denied the basic fundamental of what life is all about, and that is chesed. Olam chesed yibani HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us into this world to be kind. Chesed almost is like with no holds barred. You just give and you give and you give. And the people of Sdoim were not happy with chesed. And they had rules in their town that if you got caught doing chesed, you got caught being a nice guy or a nice woman, and you were helping your neighbors or you were helping somebody else, giving somebody a cup of salt or the like, you're finished. That's it. You are gone. They're going to come and send out the police on you, and that will be the end of your life. They had a very interesting policy of Hachnasas Orchim, of guests inviting to the house. There's a one-size bed that fits all. And when it says that it means that it fits all, it literally means that you must fit into that bed. So if the bed is like, I don't know, a bed that's 6 feet long, and the 5'8" average Jew walks into the city of Sdoim and he needs a place to stay, they said, no problem, we just got to fit you to the bed. So they had stretching machines where they would stretch out the limbs of the individual looking for a place to sleep, and that's how he would get into the bed. If the bed is 6 feet tall, but someone who's 7 feet walks into the house, no problem. We'll get you into that bed. We're just going to have to make you fit the size, and we will have to cut off part of your body in order to get you in there. They were a ruthless, terrible, despicable people. They were living a life of rishos, of wickedness. They were the opposite of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, and he's ready now to destroy them. And the Torah records a puzzling and truthfully a very amazing dialogue between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Avraham Avinu, which, if we think about it for a moment, what in the world is this conversation all about? It baffles the mind of what exactly is going on over here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ready to destroy Sdoim. And the pasuk says, "V'Avram Eidenu Omed Lifnei Hashem," and Avram Avinu was still standing before Hashem as he's about to go and destroy Sdoim. Vayigash Avram v'yomer, and Avram Avinu, he comes close to Hashem. Vayomer, he says, "Ha'av tispet tzaddik in Russia." Hashem, are you actually going to go through with this? Are you going to destroy the tzaddik, the righteous, with the rasha, with the wicked? Okay, I understand that you're not happy with the Rishonim that are in Sdoim, but I'm sure not everybody's a rasha. There must be some tzaddikim there. How is it possible that you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, are going to come down to this city, and as you are killing out and wiping out everyone in Sdoim, when you get to the house of the Rav, you're going to kill the righteous rabbi also? Ulai yesh 50 tzaddikim b'sei chayir. Maybe there's actually 50 tzaddikim that are left in these cities. Ha'av tisbe v'lo yisisa l'mokoim l'man 50 tzaddikim asher b'kirba. Would you really destroy these 5 cities, Sdoim and Amora being amongst them, and not rescue it and save it for the sake of 50 righteous people that you find inside? Now, Avram understood there's 5 cities that are about to be destroyed. If you could find 10 tzaddikim for each one of those cities, a quorum, a minyan of men, so then that should be enough to rescue the tzaddikim. And once that you're rescuing tzaddikim, so you're not going to destroy the city, you'll save everybody else as well. Remember, Avraham Avinu is the man of chesed. He's the man of kindness and the man of mercy. He doesn't want to see people suffer, and he does not want to see them be destroyed. So he's saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the argument is, it doesn't make any sense, even if you want to destroy the wicked, but how could you erase and eradicate the righteous along with him? And then Avraham Avinu goes on, Chalila lecha, what a chilul Hashem it will be. It will be sacrilegious for you, Hashem. Mi'asais kadavar hazeh, to do such a thing. Lahamis tzadikim rasha, to kill the righteous with the wicked. Vayiketzadik kirasha, you're going to treat righteous and wicked alike. Chalila, just let me throw it in there once more, says Avraham. It'll be a chil Hashem. Hashoifet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat. Is it possible that the judge of the earth, of the universe, is not going to be running the world with justice? Is that possible? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers Avram, and he says, you know what? Avram, if I could find in Stoim 50 tzadikim b'sei chayir, 50 tzadikim, when asasi l'kol hamokim ba'avuram, I'll save the entire place because of them. And then they go through, can't find 50, maybe 45, can't find 45, maybe 40, maybe 30, maybe 20, 10. There's not even 10 tzaddikim. Well, if there's less than 10, Avram made a cheshbon that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroyed the world with the Mabul, he added up, there was only Noach and 7 of his family members, there's 8 people altogether. That wasn't enough to save the world. So if there's not 10 tzaddikim over here, that won't be enough to save Stein. What is this conversation? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has decided he's going to wipe out the city of Stein and Amorah and the other 3 cities that are all in that area. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he knows exactly what he's doing. The Rebbeinu Shalom does not make mistakes. It's not like he's sitting in on the jury and deciding, should we kill them, should we not? He turns to the 12 angry men, he asks them, what do you say? And they say, well, I'm not so sure. And he says, you know what, let's just wipe him out. Comes along, Avraham Avinu says, Hashem, is it possible? Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe they deserve to live. No. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't make mistakes. So Avraham Avinu is having a dialogue, a conversation with Hashem. And in the conversation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chalila lecha, not once but twice. God forbid for you to do such a thing that the judge of justice in the world is going to do things without justice. What will the world say about you, Hashem? If you're going to kill tzaddikim with Rishonim, I don't understand. You should let them live. Let's find some more tzaddikim and let's let them live. And Hashem entertains the idea and the plea of Avraham Avinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should have said, Avram, do you hear what you are saying? You know that I'm the master of the universe. You know that I've been running the world since the beginning of time. You know that I do everything with justice and mishpat, and it's in perfection. I do not make mistakes. Why are you telling me, Chalila, I'm going to make a chil Hashem as if I'm doing things without the rhyme and reason of justice? Chas v'shalom, I'm doing such a thing. Everything I'm doing is right. But Hashem doesn't answer that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers back, good point. Point well taken. Let's go through the process and see, maybe we could find the people that are going to be redeeming of allowing me not to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. In the end, we can't find them. They have to be destroyed. But he entertains. He talks with Avram, and Avram has the audacity to come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and tell him, I think you're making a mistake. How does Avram Avinu have the right to say such a thing? And how does HaKadosh Baruch Hu entertain the idea of Avram Avinu? And just let's throw something else into the pot over here. At the end of the Parsha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Avram Avinu the greatest test known to mankind in the history of the world from at that time and probably ever. Take your son, your only son. He's like, which one? I have two sons. The one that you love. I love all my sons. No, Yitzchak, the one Yitzchak that you've been learning with for 37 years, raising him to be the link in the chain of your legacy, Avram. I want you to take him to the top of the mountain, build an altar, lay him down there, take out the knife and shecht him like that, and he's going to be a korban for me. And Avram Avinu says, aye, aye, Captain. No questions? You're going to tell me, Avram Avinu, the man that's been running around the world for the last 100 years, don't shecht your children. Don't offer them as a avodah zarah. The world is a world of chesed, of kindness, of mercy. I've been teaching the whole world, Hashem, about you. And now you want me to go and take my son that everybody knows I davened 100 years for and shecht them on the altar? Avram Avinu says, Hineni. Here I am, Hashem. Vayashkem Avram b'boker. Avram gets up early the next morning and he saddled his donkey and he takes his son and they go up to the mountaintop. He doesn't say a word. And he's ready to shecht his son. The knife is in his hand. It's about to go on the jugular. And he hears ringing out in the Shemaim. Avraham doesn't stop. Avram, what? Don't do it. Don't ask any questions. For the Rishoyim of Sdoim, you are willing to have a conversation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and plead with Hashem, find a way to save them. But for your own son, you don't ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, maybe, can we spare, let's wait a few days. Hashem, let's sleep on this. Maybe, Yitzchak, tzaddik, maybe we should let him live a little bit. Not a word. What is going on in this parsha? I'd like to share with you an idea from Rabbi Akiva Tatz. He has a beautiful work called, in Hebrew, it's Bechira Chavshis, which is free will. In English, the book is entitled Will, Freedom, and Destiny. And he has a fascinating concept that he introduces in this towards the end of his work. And he says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everyone b'tselem Elokim. We all created in the image of God. And our neshamas have imprinted inside of them something that is called, we'll call it moral intelligence. It is an inherent moral compass that every single person has, which means that every individual across the globe, across the universe, they've done sociological studies and they have found every person from the time that they are born, of course, until they get diluted and distorted of what the truth is, every person has certain truths inside of them that they know this is right and this is wrong. This is something that is good and this is something that is bad. This I should do and this I should not do. It is called, in his language over here of Rabbi Tatz, he calls it moral knowledge. And he says that every single person in the world has an inherent moral compass inside of them that tells them what is right and what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. Everybody understands. You don't knock the old lady down while she's crossing the street to steal her purse. If you do, there's something wrong with you. Everybody understands that. You don't take a gun and go down the street and just for fun start shooting people off one by one. Everybody understands there's something wrong with that. You don't cheat on your wife. Everybody understands in a perfect world. You don't do such a thing. It's understood. There's right and there's wrong. That's simple to understand. Says Rav Tatz, the moral compass that resides inside of everyone is so powerful and so strong. Now, you have to wait for us to finish the shir so that you don't think that I'm not be chorus when I say these words. It is so strong and it is so real that you don't even need the Torah to be a moral, upstanding human being. Even before HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke a single word in the world, even before HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought us to our Sinai and gave us the Torah, even before Avraham Avinu on his own spiritual heights was able to reveal the Torah to himself and be able to share that with his children because he understood inherently what Torah is all about. A human being knows what is right and he knows what is wrong. So why do we have Torah? Okay, we'll get there. Says Rabbi Tatz, once that we know that that's true, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed us in such a way that the Chinaman who's there somewhere in China, and the Jew that's somewhere in Haifa, and the man that is somewhere in Zimbabwe, and the other one that's somewhere in the Asia Minor, and somebody else who's in Australia. If you'd ask them all separately, are you allowed to go and knock the old lady down and who's crossing the street and take her purse? They'll all say no. Means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a person in such a way that he wants us to use our moral knowledge, our moral compass, to run our lives appropriately and accordingly. As a result of that, this is the chiddush of this parsha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will allow a person to use their innate morality to even argue against the actions of Hashem. How in the world can Avraham Avinu come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, Chalila lecha ribono shel olam, chas v'shalom, you're going to kill out Sdoim, Tzadikim, and Rishayim together? How could you do such a thing, Hashem? It goes against who you are. Hashem says, no, I know who I am. No, Hashem, you don't realize. You are the judge of justice. You are the one that is running this world. You already wiped everything out by the Mabul. You're going to wipe out the world again over here? And Hashem says, you know what, Avram? You're making a very good point. How can HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who already made a decision and he knows what he's doing, tell Avraham Avinu, you're making a very good point? Because since man on his own has morality, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu put that inside of us, it's in the hearts, it's in the mind, it's an imprint of the spiritual DNA of every single human being, we are entitled to express our deepest sentiments of the pure morality that is inside of us. And if you're an Avraham Avinu, you know that we're talking about the purest, holiest, most sacred morality that a human being could possibly reach. And therefore he argues with Hashem. And Hashem doesn't respond, Avraham, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. He says, you might have a point. So let's figure it out. Will it work or will it not work? Am I being just or I'm not being just? Am I doing the right thing or not doing the right thing? Let's speak it out, Avram. And they go through 50 people? No. 45? No. 40? No. 30, 20, 10? Not even 10. Avram says, okay, you got me. Checkmate. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you win. You are doing the right thing. I thought maybe we'll find a tzaddik that's a lot of tzaddikim will be able to save them. You're right, we can't. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed for Avraham to have the dialogue with him. Says Rabbi Tatz, you know why that is? Because since he invested the koyach of morality inside of a human being, every person is entitled to use and rely upon their morality as much as they can, even if they think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making a mistake, they're allowed to argue on Hashem. Now, that's all good for this part of the parsha. But as we mentioned in the beginning, then Avraham Avinu, if this bothers you, it should really bother you that Hashem told you to take your son and shech him on the altar. That's pretty immoral if you ask me. We're not into slaughtering our children. We think that it's pretty bad crimes for a person to do. You could go to jail for such a thing. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you taught me, says Avram, that all of Avodah Zarah and all the strange worships that they were doing, which some of the Avodah Zarah was, take your children and offer them to the idol and watch them burn up in fire and slay them and sprinkle their blood all around. You, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, taught me that that's a terrible thing. It's evil. And now you're telling me to do the most evil of things to my own son, who I daven a lifetime for, who has all the Torah on his head and his fingertips, who's going to be the living legacy of all of my hard work? And Avram doesn't say a word. He just says, Hineni, I'm ready to go. Let me get my donkey. Let me saddle her up. Let's go to the mountaintop. How come he doesn't argue? Chalila lecha HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to tell me, Avram Avinu, to do such a thing? He doesn't say a word. So Rabbi Tat says, a fascinating idea over here. There's a very big difference between Stoim, wiping it out, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling Avram, go and shecht your son. When it comes to Sodom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, this is what I plan to do. And he himself says, how can I conceal this from Avram Avinu, what I'm going to do? Let me clue him in. Let me let him in on the secret over here, what I plan to do this time. So since that it's like inviting Avram into the whole story over here of Stein and letting him be a part of the destruction that is going to take place, Avram is entitled to be able to offer his opinion of his morality to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But when he comes to Avram Avinu and he says, I want you to shecht your son, you're only one, the one that you love, Yitzchak Avinu, that's a tzivui, that's a command. Avram Avinu does not fight HaKadosh Baruch Hu when he's commanded to do something. If the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Avram, you must do this, on that, it trumps my moral compass. Because if there's a tzivui, if there's a command that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving a person, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, you must do this, this is what I'm expecting of you, and he's not leaving any wiggle room around for me to come and say, well, Chalilah, how could I do such a thing? I'm makabel, I accept upon myself the ratzain, the will of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and that itself overrides any stira, any contradiction that I have inside of myself of what I hold is morally moral. If you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, are commanding it, so then I am makabel it 100%. I will not ask you a single question. And that's why when HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him the most unbelievable, unattainable feat in the entire history of the world, Avram Avinu says, Hineni, I'm ready to go. I have no questions. You want me? And that was the nisayon. That was the test of Avram. Something that goes against every fiber of your morality. Something that goes against every fiber of your whole being of chesed and rachamim. It goes against everything you've been preaching for the last 50, 60, 70, 100 years of your life. You are going to not say a word, and you are going to do exactly what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to do. That's the difference, he says, between destruction of Stein and the command of Akedas Yitzchak of going and shechting your son, Yitzchak Avinu. Now, just so you don't think that I'm an apikoros, if really a person can be moral without the Torah, so then why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu need to give us a Torah of 613 mitzvahs? As we mentioned over the years, it's a lot. It could be 16, it could be 5, it could be, okay, let's say it's a serious religion, we'll do 100, but 613 mitzvahs, and we could have figured out a lot of these things are very logical laws. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us so much? And why did he give us a Torah? And the answer is because we all know that there is something called the distortion of morality, which means that even though that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a person to be upstanding and moral, and know what is right and know what is wrong, and know what is good and know what is bad, and know what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. That's the way that we were created. Yet we see that as time goes on, either in our own lives, in history, in culture, in society, the moralities and the norms of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu really wants gets distorted and convoluted and very confusing for an individual, to the extent that we no longer understand what real morality is all about. Haraya, the proof, just take a look at this beautiful country that we live in right now. That which was once upon a time something that was unheard of, today it's very normal and accepted, and everywhere that you look. Billboards that when I was a child, you would have to go to the magazine shop and you have to have somebody older buy these things for you. These are lining up on the streets for every single person to see. Words that once upon a time was foul language. Today, on the radio, on the TV, you can get away with these words, no problem. You can say whatever you want. So where's morality? What happened? Things change. There's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot of schmutz that's in the world. There's a lot of impurities that are running through the entire culture and permeating the society that we're in. There's a lot of mixed messages that are being given over on a constant basis. So the moral compass of a person, it's off. Imagine if you're going hiking and you have a compass in your hand and you need this compass to be able to get you safely from point A to point B. And as you're walking by mistake, you trip on a rock and you drop the compass and it breaks. And you pick it up. Now you might not know that it really broke, and you're looking and it's pointing north, but it's really east. But you have to go north, so you're following, and you're hiking an hour. It's starting to get dark. I don't understand. How about I'm not getting back to the place where I need to be? So you turn the compass around a bit. Oh, now it's telling me go this way. The compass is broken. If the compass is broken, you're not going to get to the destination where you want to be. If the moral compass of a person is broken, they are not going to be able to get to the place of morality, of humanity, of spiritual and emotional greatness and wellness that we are supposed to achieve. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going to give you the Torah. And the Torah will be the guideline. Torah is a language of Hayra, which means instruction. The Torah is an instruction manual of true morality. And as long as you will follow the guidelines that it says inside of the Torah, so then even if the world around you is distorted, immoral, confused, living in the dark, has no idea what's going on, convoluted ideas of what is right and what is wrong, as long as you have the Torah in your life, you will never go off the course of morality. And you'll be able to stay exactly where HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants a person to be. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his infinite wisdom and his infinite chesed and rachamim, he brought us to our Sinai, he gave us a Torah, and he codified morality for the people of Klal Yisrael forever and ever and ever. And that's why in our times, sometimes it is so very difficult to accept everything that it says in the Torah, because it is often at odds with what is going on in the society around us. But remember, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the emes, and the Torah is the truth, and it is unadulterated. It's never been tampered with. Torah is Hashem Temima. It is perfect. Mashivas nafesh. It'll restore the soul of a person. Machkimas pese. A foolish person becomes wise when he has the Torah in his hand. So even though that the Torah says you can't do this, and the world says yes you can, and the Torah says do this, and the world says no, don't do that, we don't listen to the other voices that are out there in society. We don't listen to every TikTok video that's telling us go against what Hashem says, go against what the Torah says. Chas v'chalila, chalila l'cha, it would be sacrilegious, like Avraham Avinu said. We listen to what it says in the Torah. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu invested in us Torah, umitzvahs, hashkafa, yira shamayim, amuna, connection to Him, because that's the only thing that is going to keep us straight down the path. So if you want to avoid the distortion of the world around us, as we know, the Rambam himself writes that derech biyasa shel olam, the nature of a human being is you will be nimshach, you will be drawn after, and you will be influenced by the people that you are around. So you cannot avoid that. So what, we should start thinking like them? We should start talking like them? We should start acting like them? Chas v'shalom, a person should do such a thing. As long as you have Torah and you understand what the Torah says, so then you can live a life of total morality exactly the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to do. So this is the challenge that we have in our times, in our generation, when you live in such an immoral world. It is a very great challenge because we're not so connected to the Torah the way that we should be. We learned, Baruch Hashem, we learned enough over the years to kind of know what it says in the Torah, but are we really, this is the greatest example of this is that when the internet began coming out into the world, we're probably going back over 20 years ago, when it began, and it began to go into people's homes and on their computers, and it became a regular thing. So the world said this is the greatest invention of all time. It is going to make the world such an amazing place. It's going to narrow the gap between a man who's living in America and someone who's living over there in some European country, because through a few clicks of the button, you're going to be connected like that. We'll get out information. We'll be able to share it with the world. We'll be able to you'll be able to hear our classes and this and that. It'll be global. It'll be amazing. The internet is going to be incredible. And the world got very excited very fast. And Microsoft was woo, and Apple, woo, the stocks were going up. They were raking it in. And the great Rabbanim of Klal Yisrael said, this is hands down the most evil invention that has ever entered into our society. And people said, these rabbis, they're so old and archaic. They're not with the times. Rabbi Kanievsky, get with the times. You're living in a little bubble in Bnei Brak. There's a whole world outside. You don't understand. Rabbi Tizyahu Solomon, the Mashkiach of Lakewood, when he heard about this, he cried, don't let yourself fall prey to what's going on. He said, I heard this in a drasha that's like from 20 years ago. The last hurrah of the Yetzer Hara, all that he has left in his arsenal, in his bag of tricks, is internet. And with that, he will destroy mankind. And he warned everybody, stay away. Don't get it. Don't put it in your house. This was before it was in our pockets. Could you imagine? Can you imagine the Yetzer Hara made it into our pockets? Everywhere that we go, we carry him around with us happily. And we have to upgrade all the time. iPhone 16, gold, black, X this. We have to always to make sure we have the best cutting edge. And then the cutting edge of the Yetzer Hara. That's what's in our pockets. Sometimes we put it in our pocket over here, right next to our hearts. So it's to have words of Torah on our heart, instead we have the wiles and the deviousness of the Yetzer Hara on our hearts. Not the way it's supposed to be. But guess what? The Rabbanim were right. Suddenly they said, I don't know, it was the FDA, somebody just recently made, we think that social media is causing a lot of psychological damage to the youth of our generation. Wow, you're brilliant. What made you think that? Because on TikTok, they're feeding you garbage all day long, and now you have all these little kids that are raging with anxiety because they didn't get enough thumbs up today, so now their life is meaningless. Zucker is the guy of Facebook. From what I understand, he himself doesn't even have a Facebook account and doesn't let his children have an iPhone because he knows how evil it is. But he shared the evil with the entire world. Why? Because you make good money with evil. That's how the Yetzer Hara works. So it comes out 20 years later, the Rav Chaim Kanievsky and Rav Matisyahu Salim and all the Gedolei Ador, they were right and we are wrong. Says Rav Tatz, that's what he's explaining over here. The reason Hashem gave us Torah is that we should always keep the moral compass in its place. Otherwise, it breaks. And if it breaks and you're trying to get to a destination called being the best you can be, you're not going to get there because you don't know which direction you're going in. But if you have the moral compass of the Torah always in your hand, and you have people around you that are going in the right direction, they're on the right path, so then you're always going to be walking towards the Ribbono Shel Olam. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. Avraham Avinu was unadulterated. And therefore he was allowed to come and argue with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Hashem said, you know, you're right, you have a good point. Let's go through the process. And at the end, Avraham said, okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I tried, but you know what? There are not enough tzaddikim in this world. I don't think that we have the right ourselves to come and argue with HaKadosh Baruch Hu today. He does something, Hashem, are you sure about that? Chalila lecha. How could you do that, Hashem? No. Our moral compass is so like warped and not working in the right way. We're not holding there. But the more that we attach our mind to the Torah, and the more that that's what is guiding us and directing us in this world, so then we are amplifying and elevating our moral compass, our morality, and then we can live the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to. I want to leave you off with a Maisa. I needed a good story for tonight, so where do I turn? To my son Yossi. This is the Maisa man. He's got this little thing called 24/7, 24/6. He listens to about 1,000 stories every week, and I tell him what topic I want, and he says, I need to think about it. And then he comes back with some obscure story from somewhere in Sefer Bamidbar, from a storyteller I never heard about before. He says, Todd, does this work? I said, it's good enough for tonight. We'll make it work. There was a Yid by the name of Beryl, we'll call him Beryl Goldstein. He was a very successful businessman. He was doing very well, raking in the dough. Family was living very nicely, comfortably. And it went on like this for many years, Baruch Hashem. He was doing really, really well, successful in business. But not everybody's mazel lasts forever, unfortunately. And one bad deal turned into another bad deal, and he lost this and he lost that. And the next thing you know, the guy is going bankrupt. Closes his business. They downsize from the nice house to the small one, from the small house to the apartment. They get rid of the fancy cars, they get simple cars. And they're living a very pashut, a very simple existence. And this man, he's like a broken person. You go from the luxury, the lap of luxury, to the world of simplicity and not having a job and not making any money. Very, very hard for him. And he's always looking around. Maybe he could find a job, but it was hard for him to go beneath his dignity to get, it's like what is this, Gen X? What do we live in today? I don't know what we live in. But you want me to work? Really? I thought the government's like giving out money for COVID still. You want me to work, actually? I'm sorry. What, clean the tables in the restaurant over there? Take orders? I don't do that kind of stuff. This guy was having a really hard time finding a job that he felt was not so below his dignity. It was very, very hard for him. One day he's looking in one of the Jewish magazines or newspapers, and he's looking at the advertisements, and he sees a job that says you need to have 5 years experience working in this particular line of business. It's a community type of a position, and we're looking for somebody. And he looks at the job and he says, this is perfect. This is my skill set. 5 years experience, I have more than that. And it's communal. You get to help the community also. This is amazing. This is the kind of thing I'm looking for. So the owner of the company is Mr. Goldberg. He calls him up and he says, I was looking in the advertiser here. I saw the job that you're offering. I'm interested. He said, you have 5 years experience? Yes. Have you worked in this field? Yes, that's my skill set. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, how about Tuesday? You want to join me Tuesday in my office, 4 o'clock in the afternoon? We'll have a meeting. He says, great. I'll be there. So he comes to the meeting, he fills out the application. The guy's looking at it, very impressive. He's probably overqualified for the job, but very impressive. And they have an interview, it goes on for about an hour or so. Great interview. He's answering every question, exactly what Mr. Goldman wants to hear. And the guy's getting very excited. He feels the vibe, it's going well. And Mr. Goldberg says, Beryl, very impressed with your application, with your job experience, with the conversation going on over here, all of your answers, everything is great. I have one last question I want to ask you. Sure, he says. He says, Beryl, why should I hire you over everybody else that's applied to this job? Ooh, that's a good question. So now, if you're like a very confident person and you feel that you're the man for the job, you're supposed to say, because I'm going to do the job better than anybody else. And Beryl was caught off guard. And he says, I'm not sure. He says, Beryl, do you have any idea why I should hire you over somebody else? And he says, I don't know. Maybe because I'm so desperate for a job. I really need work. So now Mr. Goldberg, the boss, does not like that answer. I'm not hiring somebody who's a Nebuch case, who's desperate for a job. I need the best guy for the job. So Beryl says, that's not really the answer you were looking for, was it? He's like, no, not really. He says, but I liked everything else. I need to think about it now. I need to sleep on it overnight. I'll be in contact with you tomorrow. I'll let you know. I'll let you know what we decide. Beryl walks out totally dejected. He blew it. He had it in his hand. And he gave the wrong answer. He blew it. He comes home and his son, who knows that his father was going for a job interview, sees it. How did it go? How did it go? He says, well, the interview, great. The application, great. The schmoozing, great. But I think I blew it at the end. So Tom, what happened? If it was going so great, what happened? Did he ask me a final question? Why should I get the job over anybody else? I wasn't expecting the question. I just told him because I'm desperate for a job, for work. And I could tell it wasn't the answer he wanted. I probably won't get the job. And the son said, Tati, you know what? If you don't get this job, there'll be another job. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And then the kid runs off. He has to go daven Marv. And the father stays at home. And that's it. The next day, the phone rings. Beryl, yes. Hi, it's Mr. Goldberg. Hi, Mr. Goldberg. How are you? He says, great. So I just wanted to call you to let you know I'd like to offer you the job. Really? You're offering me the job? I mean, even after I made such a big mistake in the way I answered? He said, even after you made such a mistake in the way that you answered. Yes, it was not the answer that I wanted to hear. And truthfully, I want to let you know that after you left my office, I decided I'm not going to give you the job. Until I went to daven Marv last night. So he said, because you went to daven Marv, I got a job. He says, let me tell you. He said, there's a certain shul that I usually daven at, and I'm always racing to try to get there on time for the Marv minyan. And last night when I was pulling up, there was no parking spaces. And I had to park like a whole block away from the shul. By the time that I got into the shul was packed, unusually packed. There was not a single seat available, very similar to what's going on here tonight. You can laugh at that. That's okay. Yeah. Okay. And I walk in and it started davening already. I have no place to sit. And suddenly, a young teenage boy comes over to me and he sees me standing there and he points like that. He got up from his seat and he tells me, go sit in my seat. I look at the young man. Go. I sit down and I'm davening and I can't stop looking at this young man. Such a nice kid. Unbelievable. He gave up his seat for me. And I'm looking at his face, and that face looks so familiar to me. I'm wondering, who is that? And after davening is over, I go over to the kid and I say, it was so nice of you that you gave up your seat for me. He said, there's a whole room here of people. You're the only one who gave up your seat. Why did you give up your seat? He said, because my father taught me that when someone's down, you always try to pick him up. And he said, when you walked into the shul, I happened to look at your face. I saw you look tired, you look haggard, you look like you had a long day. And I figured, if I'll give you my seat, it'll pick you up and you'll have a better marv. And the man says, that is so nice of you. What is your name and who is your father? And he says, my name, I'm Yaakov Goldstein. My father is Beryl Goldstein. What, you know him? And he said, as a matter of fact, I do. And then he says on the phone, he says, Beryl, I want you to know, if that's the kind of son that you raised, who cares about somebody else, he's the only kid in the whole shul that got up and offered me a seat, and that comes from you, then I don't care what answer you gave to the question last night. You're the man that I want for this job. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave everybody a moral compass inside. And a person knows what is right and he knows what is wrong. What is good, what is bad, what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. Avraham Avinu on his madrega, on his level, it was so heightened where he was holding, he was able to argue with the Rebbeinu Shalom and say, how could you wipe out Tzaddikim and Rishonim together? Let them live. And Hashem said, Avraham, you have a very good point. Maybe you're right. The reason that we have Torah in our lives, as we pointed out, is because our moral compass, not so clear, not so unadulterated, not so pure. The Torah comes along in our lives and it gives us the framework of morality so that we will not make the mistakes that are going on the streets. We will not think of the things that 50 years ago, just 50 years ago, just 10 years ago, 5 years ago was not normal. Today it's all normal. We will learn how to guard ourselves and protect ourselves and to live a life that, as Abraham said, we have to live a life of righteousness. And in Mitzvah Hashem, and that's the chos, Be'ezah Hashem. Although that we're not going to reach levels perhaps of an Avraham in his level of morality, his level of clarity, but with the help of the Rebbeinu Shalom and the schus of having his Torah, we'll be able to live that life that is a nachas ruach liyotzoi, that is a true pleasure to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.